Hello there, friends. Happy Tuesday and welcome to my Stampin' Piece studio. I'm Mary Knabe from Columbus, Ohio. Happy to be here with you today. Tuesday's not my usual Facebook Live day, but yesterday afternoon I spent some time with my niece Allison. She's a nurse at OSU, the James Hospital at OSU, and she works nights and she's going to school to be a nurse practitioner. So she has a lot going on. So even though she lives close, I don't see her very often. And it had been almost 2 months since I saw her. So I went over to her apartment and then I took her out to lunch and we just had a nice chat and things like that. And then I spent a little time with baby Riley. So it was sort of a mental health day for me. And, I hope if you ever feel those kinds of days and you need a pick me up, I hope you treat yourself to some of those things. Taking care of ourselves is the best thing we can do for our loved ones. And taking care of myself is something I wish I knew younger in life. So yesterday was one of those days I took a mental health day. So thank you for your understanding. Thank you for being here today at 5 p.m. Eastern Time instead of yesterday, Monday. I want to let you know that my latest class, Supremely Awesome, is open for registration right now through this Saturday, August 19th. And this is the cute stamp set. It has a pizza inspired theme, both images and sentiments. And with that class, you'll make 2 each of 4 designs. This one is actually a fun fold. And this is probably my favorite. But if you're interested in that, I have the options of getting the class kit with and without that stamp set. And if you're interested in buying just the PDF tutorial, you can do that as well. And if you want to get that PDF tutorial completely free, you can join my Mary Stampers team, because all of my team members get my class to go tutorials free for their own use. Just a perk of joining with me. And also I wanted to let you know, this is pre-order month for the mini catalog. Anybody who joins Stampin' Up! This month can participate in that pre-order. So if you're kind of itching to get those new products and start your Christmas cards, things like that, talk to me. I can help you out. And I would love to have you be a part of my Mary Stampers community. All right, on our last Facebook Live last week, I showed how to make this square trifold card. Looks a little tricky, but it really is not, because I give you the easy measurements. But that card, that video has been posted to stampinpiece.com. That's my website and blog. And in there are the templates to make the card itself, as well as a template to make a custom square envelope to go with that. Now on this last week's card, we focused on using the Zoo Crew Designer Series paper. And these cards, or that square trifold card, works wonderfully with so many of our Designer Series papers. But today, I'm going to make another one that doesn't use any Designer Series paper. And I'll show you it's just as easy, but this one has much more stamping than that last one. So I'm going to flip my camera around now so that we can get started right away. Please share this live video and invite others to join us this afternoon. Okay, I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. I was dog sitting Andrea and John's 2 dogs here at my house, Mila and Mally, because Andrea and John took sweet Riley to Cincinnati for the first time, and they spent the weekend with my other daughter, Emily. So they all had a great time, and I'm sure Emily did as well. So that was primarily my weekend. Watching the dogs, doing some work, playing with new products that are coming September 6th. All right, I'm going to show you the sample card first, and then we're going to talk about the stamping for this card that I'm making with you today. So here's the card. I love the colors here. Love the bright, just the bright, cheerful colors of this. The colors are Berry Burst, Fresh Freesia, Azure Afternoon, and Granny Apple Green for the leaves. So as you can see, there are a lot of flowers here. There's a total of 9, and all of those are stamped with the Petal Park stamp set, and then punched out with the coordinating punch. So what I want to show you is I've already put these together. I just layered the 3 pieces of each card using mini glue dots. And what I did was I just cut 3 strips of basic white cardstock like this one, 2 3/4 inches by 8.5. So just took a sheet of basic white cardstock, 8.5 by 11, and cut 3 strips 2 3/4 inches wide. And that is plenty of room, more than enough room, for you to stamp 3 sets of flowers. I did stamp, this is a 2-step stamping process. So what that means is I stamped the outline of the flowers in black Memento ink, and then I stamped the inside of the flowers in the various colors, Fresh Freesia, Berry Burst, and Azure Afternoon. And as you can see, the 3 flowers are all on one stamp. So it looks like an awful lot of stamping, but it actually went very, very quickly because of the 3 flowers being on the same stamp and then being able to punch all 3 flowers at the same time. And then, as I said, and like you see on the other flowers, I just quickly put the layers of flowers together from large, medium to small using a mini glue dot between the layers. I did not opt for any dimensionals because fun folds can get a little bit bulky, and I just didn't feel that this card warranted having dimensionals on there, and it could have made the card much too thick, especially when you're considering mailing. This is a square card, so you would either need to purchase 5x7 envelopes. I have some of those that we used for Andrea and John's wedding, and I got them on Amazon. And the card I'm making today fits right in there. Or you can make a custom envelope, square, to fit this. And I especially like those when I'm just handing them to somebody. Or maybe I'm sending a birthday present and can tuck it with the wrapped package, and then that package, that gift, goes into a regular shipping box, things like that. So definitely different ways I use them. Now, I also went ahead and stamped some leaves that I want to punch, and I really only need 4 of these leaves. But sometimes I get carried away and I think, well, I'll just stamp a few more in case I want a few more on the card, or decide to make another card. But right now, for my purposes today, I'm just going to punch out the 4. We're going to do a little more stamping, and then I'm going to, are they all here? Yeah, here it is. And then I'm going to show you how to put this fun fold card together. So let's save the base, all right? Let's save the base for later. Right now, I just want to focus on all of the stamped pieces. I need one of these. Who saw the last Facebook Live when I did the Zany Zoo fun fold card? Did anybody watching now see that? Because you'll pick up on how to actually make that fun fold. But I wanted to give you an example of that card made with DSP, as well as, do I have 7? Yes. As well as one that's just done with cardstock and stamping. So we are going to be putting most of these flowers onto these white squares. And these white squares measure 1 3/4 inch by 1 3/4 inch. And because we're going to be putting the leaves on, I want to stamp some leaves or flowers on. I want to stamp some leaves that will show up behind the flowers. And of course, you could stamp and punch these leaves as well if you wanted to. And they don't all have to be the same. You can move those leaves around. Maybe on this one, I'll do 3 leaves instead of 2. And this is an example of the 2-step stamping, because I'm stamping the outline, and then I'm going to go back over each of the leaves and fill in with some color using another stamp. Oops, I got a smudge of black on that one, so let me flip this over and try again. Okay. So the second part of my 2-step stamping then is using the Granny Apple Green and the solid image for that leaf. Because this stamp set is photopolymer, it makes it easy to line up the second stamp. How many of you have the Petal Park stamp set and coordinating punch? This is a card I cased from Connie Stewart. I, along with 2 of my team members, participated in a virtual stamping retreat that she and 3 other demonstrators had a few weeks ago, and this is one of the cards that Connie demonstrated. Alrighty. So now I've got everything stamped and punched here. The last one, the last part of the stamping that I want to do, and this is super easy, I'm actually stamping with this. And the name of this stamp set is Stamped with Love. And I'm going to be stamping the outline here of an envelope and a pen with black Memento ink. I'm not trying to get it straight. I kind of intentionally wanted it to be off-center and slanted a little bit, just to add some interest. And in that envelope, I'm going to stamp a message, and that message is, I like you. And I'm stamping the message with Berry Burst ink. And that pen, I'm just going to color in a little bit with my dark Berry Burst Stampin' Blend. And then for some of the other parts, I'm going to, and I can't find it. Oh, it's here. I was working on another project. I have so many things going on. It's crazy. I will have 19 people at my house on Saturday for a team event. So I'm getting ready for that. I've also been working on samples and classes for new product that will begin on September 6th. Plus Facebook Lives, you know, why do one thing when I can do a gazillion, right? Anyways, plenty to keep me busy. All right, so that is all the stamping. Okay, and again, I used Petal Park stamp set and coordinating punch, and I used the Stamped with Love stamp set as well. Oh, I did forget to stamp something. Well, that's okay. I'll do that after we put our card together. So let's talk about how to make the base for our square trifold card. I'm starting with a piece of Azure Afternoon cardstock, and this card base measures 5 1/4 by 8 3/4 inches. And the first step of making this base, after cutting that 5 1/4 by 8 3/4 inches, I want to score at 3 1/2 and then score again at 5 1/4. I'm going to set this aside for just a moment because now I want to add 2 white squares, and each of these squares measure 3 1/4 inches. Okay. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to use these as a guide for when I do the rest of my scoring and cutting. So this one I'm putting in the bottom left corner, and I want the 2 sides and the bottom to have equal dimensions. And I'm using the score line right here. Okay. Over here, again, I want the same margin on the left and right side, and this time on the top. And I am using the second score line as another edge. Okay, so you can see it's even margin all the way around. Now I'm going to bring my paper trimmer back in, and this time I'm going to score at the top left corner. I'm putting this at 1 3/4 inches, and I want to score down to 1 3/4 inches. And when I do that, I'll finish that score line before it gets to the white. So do you see how that kind of acts as a guide? On the trimming blade and the scoring blade, there's a little line etched into the plastic. That is the exact center of the cutting blade or the scoring blade. So I know to score down until that line matches up with the 1 3/4 on my ruler. So again, my left edge of the card base is at 1 3/4 inches, and I'm going to score down. Sometimes I like to just start down and go up. Okay, so can you see that? Looks like I need to go down just a little further. Typically when I do this, I'm looking over the top. But if I were looking over the top, then you'd be seeing my hair instead of the card base. So there I just flipped my card base 180 degrees. So now I'm doing the same thing on the opposite side. I've got the left edge over at 1 3/4 inches, and I want to score from that upper edge to the 1 3/4 inch mark. Okay, so I've got both of my score lines now. Then I want to turn this to the vertical position, and I'm going to do some cutting this time. And I'm going to cut at 1 3/4 inches, okay? When I make that cut, I'll scoot over to 1 3/4 inches, but then I'm gonna cut from the top line, or the top score line, all the way down to the bottom score line, okay? So my left edge is at 1 3/4. I want to bring my cutting blade down, and I'm matching up that line for the cutting blade with my score line. So I'm just pressing it down at that point. And I'm going to cut until that line on my cutting blade meets the score line on my card base. Okay? And that's the cut. Flip 180 degrees again. I'm going to do the very same thing. Got my left edge at 1 3/4 inch. I'm going to put down my cutting blade so that the notched line on the side matches up with that top score line, and I'm going to cut until I meet the bottom score line. And that's that. Okay, now we're finished with that. And this is how we're going to I'll show you what I think is the easiest way. So at the top, you've got the 3 score lines. That middle score line, you want to push back. Okay. At the bottom, you've got the 3 score lines. Here, you want to push forward. Okay. So your card's going to end up closing just like that. If you push back on the first one and pull out on the bottom one, then everything else folds right into place. You can grab your bone folder, go over all of those score lines. I think with fun folds, it's especially important to make sure you're going over all those score lines. Okay. So now let's start putting everything together. I have cut 2 pieces of Berry Burst cardstock. Don't you love this color? Talk about bright and cheerful. It's bold. To me, it screams fun. It's pretty. And oh my gosh, it matches my nail. And look, almost matches my shirt I'm wearing today too. Just now noticed that. I'm going to attach these. These are like mini cards. I'm going to attach one to the first white square, and I'm going to have it open at the bottom. On the card we made last week, I had both my cards opening at the bottom. I'm going to change things up this time and have this opened from the right side. There's no right or wrong. I'm going to adhere this to my mini card on the left. And we'll be adding a flower here. And I'm going to send this card to Emily, who lives in Cincinnati. And I'm going to put this on the inside. So on the outside, it says, I like you. So you get a card. So she'll get a laugh out of that. Emily's got a super good sense of humor. In fact, she really is one of the funniest people I know. So she will get a kick out of that. Again, because I'm using a photopolymer stamp set, I want to use my Stampin' Pierce mat. Gives me a little cushion there. Put it right in the center. And I'm also going to stamp this teeny tiny heart. I'm going to use this block so it's easier to hold. That's so tiny. Just going to do one here, and then here, and there. Thank you to Jenny Graber, who's taken it upon herself to add all of the products in the comments. Some of you like to know right away, what's the name of that product or that color? All right, now on this one, I'm going to go ahead and put a 2 3/4 inch square of white on the inside. I can use this space to write a message to Emily. And on the front, oops, where's my skinny, here. I have this tiny little strip of Berry Burst that I want to put on here. It's like 1/8 of an inch, okay? Teeny tiny. You don't have to do the strip. You could make it wider if you want. You could do a strip of DSP. Lots of possibilities. I think I'll just put it about there. And then just to add a little more interest to this, I'm going to emboss this piece. Now my sample, I used a different embossing folder, but for the purpose, yes, Jen, this is fresh Freesia. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to use one of these narrow embossing folders, and I think I'll go with the stripes today. So I'm going to insert that square. Depending on which way you put your cardstock in, you can have the lines going horizontal or vertical. And for that embossing folder, I use plates 1 and 4. Remember when you're using embossing folders, I bet many of you know this, but maybe some don't. What's the #1 rule when you're putting embossing folders through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine? I'll give you a hint. It's so that you don't break your embossing folders. You always want the fold to go in first. Always want the fold to go through the rollers first. So there, that adds a fun little bit of interest. So let's, oh my gosh, things are just falling here. So I'm going to add this to the other little mini card. And then we're going to finish off this square trifold card with all of these stamped squares and the flowers and leaves. For the squares, I'm going to use multi-purpose glue. And the reason for that is it gives me a little wiggle room if I need to slide them around to make sure that they are centered on all the Azure Afternoon squares between the score lines, etc. And I'm going to turn them different ways. I don't need all of the leaves going in the same direction. I think it's more interesting if we change it up. Here's one with 3 leaves. I'm going to put that one here. Yeah. I think I just answered myself. Yeah, do that. And again, if you're thinking, oh, that's just way too much stamping, Mary, keep in mind you can do this with color pieces of cardstock. You can do it with DSP, whatever your heart desires. And if you need an example of this card made with DSP, be sure to check out my last blog post at stampinpiece.com. Also there, you'll get the templates to make this, has all the cutting and scoring dimensions you need, as well as a template to make a DSP envelope for it. Now I'm ready to add my flowers. You can, again, use your multi-purpose glue if you want. Any adhesive will do for this part. The multi-purpose glue, that liquid glue, really is the most economical adhesive that we sell. So I do like it for that, and I especially like it when I know I have to get things straight, or maybe we'll need to line things up and shift things around a little bit. It gives me a little, what do I always say? A little flexibility. Gives me more time. And I'm trying to place these so I'm not putting the same color next to each other. That's just my own little thing. I think it's just more interesting and more fun that way. You could have different flowers. You could have one color but different shades of it. And then for the last two, I'm going to add flowers to the front of these mini cards. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to add 2 leaves behind each of those flowers. So obviously, if I had done all of the stamping and punching live with you, it would take longer to make this card. I try to be respectful of your time. And you might get a little bored with all that stamping and punching. But what I really wanted you to see is how to actually put the card together. Okay? Remember, push in, pull out. Okay? So there's my card. And I think it's pretty sweet. And I just said I would send this to Emily. I'm not sending this to Emily. I'm sending it to one of you. One of you will receive this. But guess what? I have my sample that I can send to Em. All right. Again, template to make this and photos of the other card. Where did I just put it? This was my sample. The one I made in the live actually went out in the mail today. But here's my sample. I used the Zany Zoo bundle and the Coordinating Zoo Crew DSP. So that's already up on the blog, stampinpeace.com. And I will post this as well, and I will link it to that blog post. That way you'll have the template in both places. Okay? What do you think? Okay, now I'm going to ask, and I know what I want the answer to be, so we'll see what you say. How many of you have already tried the square trifold card? If you were with me last week during the Facebook Live, did you try it yet? And everyone, I want you to tell me, if you haven't tried it yet, are you going to try it? Marilyn, music to my ears. I have to make this. Yes, yes, you do. And honestly, it comes together very easily. You're only limited by your imagination, your own creativity, okay? But here are two examples. One, I used more DSP, and the other, I did a lot more stamping and punching. See the difference? Okay. Kathy, you were in the hospital last week. I'm sorry. I hope you're doing better. But please give it a try. And again, stampinpeace.com is where you can find the template. All righty. I'm going to give this card away today. And let's see. How about let's see. What should I have you comment? Something different. How about this? So you get a card. So you get a card. Kathy, new pacemaker. Traded in a old part for a new part. I'm glad. I'm glad it's not more serious than that, because you've got a lot of stamping to do, right? Carol watched all the way from Connecticut. Sherry says she's going to try this fun fold. Okay, so you get a card. If you comment, type that in the comments now. I will put your name into the drawing to receive this card. Alrighty. Are there any questions? Okay, a friendly reminder also that this month, all of our online kits are on sale from 10% to 20% to 30% off. Every single one of our online kits, okay? So keep that in mind. Also, I will be doing a Facebook Live Thursday at 2 p.m. Not sure what I'll be doing that day. I have a couple ideas, but I need to make a choice, right? But also I wanted to remind you that next Monday, August 21st, Jen, you write in, so you get a card. August 21st, Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be having my craft and chat. We all get onto Zoom. You work on whatever you want to work on. It's not a demonstration or a class or anything like that. It's just a time for us to get together virtually, socialize a little bit, maybe get to know somebody new, and share a little bit about what we're working on. Some of you might be doing Christmas cards. I'm probably going to be working on some of my kits that I purchased. Could be anything at all. And it also gives you an opportunity to ask me anything you want about Stampin' Up! Or about my Stampin' Up! Journey, my team, etc. All right, so mark your calendar for that. All right, everybody, have a great Tuesday evening. Thanks for visiting me in my Stampin' Piece studio, and I look forward to seeing you Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, right here in the same place. Bye-bye.